red warning is the response kay evacuation na siya. So more than 30 minutes rain. There's a serious expected in low-lying areas. Pag green warning, it responds to alert for possible evacuation. So 15 minutes to 30 minutes, it is the intense rain and the flooding is threatening. Yellow warning is to response monitor, so 7.5 to 15 millimeters. Suddenly, heavy rain or flooding is possible. Next slide. So the exposure information, database, and tools. So these are the most common natural disasters in the Philippines. So uh, so the Philippines is located in an area affected by natural disasters called the Ring of Fire or the Typhoon Belt. So the typhoon is in typhoon every year. Hello. Oh,
Running out of time daw.
Hello, ano ko na.
So every year, 19 typhoons enter the Philippine region, and about 7 or 8 make landfall. In the past, some have been extraordinarily powerful and caused casualties and the collapse of infrastructures in the affected areas. So the volcanic eruptions, there are currently 23 active volcanoes in the Philippines. Although they provide an extraordinary spectacle and tourists consider them as a unique opportunity for photography, hiking, and other outdoor activities. Active volcanoes are extremely dangerous, so they can erupt without warning and produce a sudden steam and ash explosions. In earthquakes, the Philippines is considered an earthquake zone where more than 38 earthquakes can take place in just 1 year. So the strongest earthquakes in the Philippines was registered in 1976 with a 7.9 magnitude. The secondary effects to the high frequency of earthquakes and typhoons can also result in a number of secondary events to watch out for, like floodings and landslides. For the vulnerability, capacity, and risk assessment, so it uses the various participatory tools to gauge the people's exposure to and capacity to resist natural hazards. It is an integral part of disaster preparedness and contributes to the creation of community-based disaster preparedness programs at the rural and urban grassroots level. So the aims of the VCA or the vulnerability capacity assessment are to assess risks and hazards facing communities and the capacities they have for dealing with them. Involve communities, local authorities, and humanitarian and development organizations in the assessment from the outset. Next is draw I Next is draw up action plans to prepare for and respond to the identified risk. Identify risks is the reduction activities to prevent or lessen the effects of expected hazards, risk, and vulnerability. Next. So the last is the climate risk. So the climate risk management is a generic term referring to an approach to climate sensitive decision making. The approach seeks to promote sustainable development by reducing the vulnerability associated with climate risk. So the CRM or the climate risk management involves strategies aimed at maximizing positive and minimizing negative outcomes for communities in fields such as agriculture, food security, water resources, and health. trauma.
Okay, so for the warning and risk communication, we have um, the geological, hydrometric, meteorological, um, and climate-based hazards. So warning communications are a development which are used of warning and information systems and protocols, including the determination of stakeholder information needs for improved warning and communication of information of impending hazardous events and impacts for appropriate preparedness and response. So, under these are the geological, hydrometeorological, and climate based hazards. So, what are, so under these, rather, geological based hazards are kaning mga earthquakes, mga volcanic eruptions. So, warning communication will sort of connect with us in terms of communication. Yung mag-warn sila, there are earthquakes that happened in the city, 'di ba? As kanaon sa atong um, ma-receive sa ato ang mga cellphones if naalugar gikan nga mga earthquakes. So, under these kay mga earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, landslides, sa other country, mga snow avalanches, and sand blasting, and etc. So under the hydrometeorological is the hazards that we can think of are mga tropical na cyclones. So such as typhoons and hurricanes, thunderstorms, hailstorms, tornadoes, um, coastal storm surges, and others. So, and then for our climate-based hazards and impacts, these are the hazards of disaster in terms of what they may do to the human settlements or to our environment. Potentially hazardous atmospheric phenomena, which includes the tropical cyclones, the thunderstorms, the drought, the rain, hail, and snow, including the fogs, temperature extremes, air pollution, and climate change. Next is the impact and risk based modeling and forecasting. So, under this is we have weather and climate observation and monitoring. We also have hydrological observation and monitoring, as well as the ocean observation, including the observation of possible storm surges and waves, the volcano observation and monitoring, seismic, geodetic, and geochemical observation and monitoring of the volcano. We also have the earthquake observation and monitoring systems. These also include the seismic intensity meter and accelerometer. So diyan na makitaan ang intensity sa earthquake. So sila ang observe o mag-monitor. And also we have the tsunami monitoring systems as well as the landslide monitoring systems. And also we also have the sensor networks. So we also have under the warning and communication of information, we have the PAG-ASA and the WMO under the Philippine Unified Meteo-Hydrological Information System. So we all know that PAG-ASA is the nation's public weather service provider. So for example, now ay ring na musulod maglandfall sa atoa sa Mindanao. So ang PAG-ASA mo'y warn sa ato, mag-update sa ato sa unsa na ang status. And also the World Meteorological Organization, or the WMO, um, with their purpose of to facilitate worldwide cooperation in the establishment of networks of stations for the making of meteorological observations, as well as hydrological and other geophysical observations related to meteorology. Next, we have the web-based and mobile phone-based warning and information. So these are usually the weather informations na we can acquire from weather applications or services that analyzes the weather for the day, for the next 5 days, and for the whole week. So we have that kind of technology now sa ato ang cell phones, sa atong smartphones. So that makes the lives of people a bit more convenient. And then another example are the text messages that we receive informing us about possible mga calamities or na-happen ng mga earthquakes, for example. And we also have the Geological Disaster Information Portal, which helps us or puts complex geological hazards information into the hands of everyone through the newly developed portal that makes everything more convenient wherever we are. We also have the risk communication, and then the community traditional media systems. So these are the media systems na these are our national news TV, um, and then also national and local radio stations that always informs us of possible calamities, updates, the status as well. And lastly is communicating uncertainties of climate change projections for DRR or CAA. So that will be all. And next.
So, um, hello, Ron Kisira Ramos. So, I'm going to report the technology development and application for climate change mitigation and adaptation. So, next slide, please. So, climate before that, climate change impact on the human health sector. So, in many parts of the world, trends in land use, population growth and density, and resource depletion already hold severe implication for human health. So, interaction with climate change impact could magnify these effects. So, unfortunately, climate change is likely to introduce burdens to already vulnerable population and worsen global health disparities. So this population may already be experiencing climate related health impact, but this is difficult to determine because of the indirect nature of much of that impact and the challenge of separating climate change signal from other changes. So the potential adverse impact of climate change on health covers a wide array and includes more direct effects. So among these are deaths and injuries resulting from extreme events, changes in geographic range, and seasonality of climate-related health risks, and the increased incidence of waterborne and vector-borne disease, as for example, malaria, dengue, yellow fever, cholera, and chikungunya. So, it reduced productivity in labor-intensive subsistence agriculture and other outside labor activities, and reduced crop yields, which may result in malnutrition. So